injury news. We've had injury news coming seemingly every day over the past few weeks. We've gone a day without major injury news. I say this now, knock on some wood. Obviously, training camp not done for the day across all teams, but we're good so far. This isn't to say that we haven't had other NFL news, some minor things throughout the day, some signings here or there. We did get a minor note just a few minutes ago that the NFL plans to get rid of the Pro Bowl game. This is an event that has changed over the past few seasons. There will still be some individual performances. Players still get the award and credit to being added to the Pro Bowl, but it's not going to be an actual event anymore. That's a little bit minor. The Packers GM has alluded to the fact that they are preparing for a Josh Jacobs suspension, which is important for the Packers. Early season, at least, we know that Jacobs was arrested earlier in the offseason. Obviously, the charges are still pending with Josh Jacobs, and it really does impact the beginning portion of the season for the Packers, whether it's 2 games, 3, 4, that is all yet to be seen. But the Packers may turn to more of a pass-first offense in the early portion of the season if Josh Jacobs is in fact suspended. We know behind the Packers, they have behind Josh Jacobs on the Packers depth chart, that would be Marshawn Lloyd and Chris Brooks for a little bit of running support. Joe, does this change things dramatically for your outlook on the Packers overall, or is this just a bump in the road early season and they can kind of tread water until they're back at full health?
I mean, call me crazy here, but did we think he wasn't going to face some sort of suspension here, Tom? I mean, and again, we know the history here, whether he's proved guilty of anything in a court of law has absolutely nothing to do with the NFL's ability to be able to suspend. There was just too much behind it. You knew something was going to happen. And if I'm the Packers, I had to be expecting. Now, is it going to be 6 games? Is it going to be half a season? To be determined here, but I would think if you went in betting the Packers early thinking that they were going to have him, I don't know, have you been paying attention to how the NFL operates over the last couple of decades? Because I didn't think we'd see him until October. The fact that we still don't have any idea about what's going on just tells me, Tom, they're probably deciding and negotiating behind the scenes right now what that suspension is going to be, but I would not expect him until October. I would not expect to see him in September.
Right. I would say 3-4 games is really where I think is a and again, to your point, this has nothing to do with the legal proceedings. This is about the NFL player conduct policy. So they could suspend him for those 3 or 4 games. And, ultimately when you're looking at the Packers depth chart and really what they're going to be dealing with, I think this is going to be a pass-first offense, at least early in the season, with Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, and, of course, Tucker Kraft on his way back from an ACL injury. So those 4 guys, I think, should be really steady in the passing game early season. The early season schedule for the Packers is going to be interesting. They get things going in week 1. They'll be at home. If I remember, they'll be on the road in a divisional game against Minnesota. So important game right from the jump. Outside of the first few games, this I don't think changes too much for the Packers' overall season projection. If you are interested in the Packers long term, I mean, Jacobs will be that much healthier come the end of the season. He's not going to get beat up over the first 3-4 games.
No, and again, that schedule is very, very winnable. I mean, that is kind of ridiculous when you look at it. Some of those games Minnesota's a divisional game. We get it, but I'm not buying into Kyler Murray in any way, shape, or form. I think they're going to have some issues, but there are some winnable games. But we know that Green Bay, especially under LaFleur, they're just going to tread water in September, right? In October, Tom, it's when the weather starts to turn. It's when those games in November and December that's when it starts to matter for Green Bay. And that is when they become usually a different team. So the schedule lines up whether they have him or they don't. To me, the defense on the other side is, when are you getting back Parsons is my question. When is he going to be 100%, Tom? Because I think that affects them. Listen, you have Jordan Love. Jordan Love is supposed to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL. You've got you've upgraded the receiver. So whether Josh Jacobs is there or not should not alter it too much. It's the defense I'm going to be very interested in.
I think it's a great way to put it. And, when it comes to the division overall, we're looking at 3 competent teams between the Packers, the Bears, and the Lions. And the expectations for the teams are all pretty high. The Lions want to return to where they were a couple of years ago. The Bears want to continue to grow from where they were last year. It's a bit of a toss-up division overall. The Vikings, I think, are clear as that bottom team in the division, just with Kyler. And even if it wasn't Kyler, I don't think anyone's too excited about J.J. McCarthy. I think this is a division that could easily have at least 2 teams going into the playoffs. And the defense, to your point, Joe, is going to be the focal point for me, and it's really going to determine how far they go and if they actually can be a true contender in the NFC. Because they've been there, as you said, over the past few years under LaFleur. They've kind of just been a middling team or treading water. But are they going to push into being that top-tier team coming out of the NFC, or at least challenging for that? That's still yet to be seen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to need to run the ball, but they're going to need to run the ball when the weather turns. And that, to me, is the big thing. Other than that, listen, Jordan Love, to his credit, I think LaFleur's worst offensive season as a head coach was the last one with Aaron Rodgers, where they were, and I think even then they finished 11th or 12th in the NFL in total offense. They've averaged with Jordan Love under center top 5, top 6 every year that he has been under center. They'll do that again, even with Josh Jacobs not available early on. They have upgraded the wide receiving room there. I think they'll be just fine. You need a running game. You and I both know this. When Lambeau and it's 2 below and it's December on a Sunday night, you better be able to run the ball in Green Bay if we're going to take you seriously, because that is an edge that they have always had here. And Minnesota, you better win a few games you're not supposed to win early on in the season, because once they go outdoors, indoor team going outdoors, you know how that usually works, Tom, especially with Minnesota's defense that I still have a ton of. If you think the offense is crazy, that was not a very good defensive effort a year ago from Minnesota. And I don't know that they did a whole lot to improve it.
They were very underwhelming last year, and in a lot of sides, and defense, namely of what we should expect from the Minnesota Vikings. The defense was the thing that was very underwhelming. I can understand having growing pains with what I'm going to say last year was a rookie quarterback, McCarthy, in his first year playing games. I can understand the growing pains that the offense may go through and just the ups and downs, but the defense not being the stable, sturdy thing that they can lean on, that was very, very surprising to me. And overall, when it comes to their path forward for this season, I'm not sure what path they have really in the NFC overall. When we're looking at the odds for conference, for conference odds overall, I'm not really excited about where they sit in the NFC. We could be seeing 2 teams come out of the West. We could be seeing 2 teams come out of the North. The South probably only getting 1 team. Do we get 2 or 3 out of the East? We can get at least 2 potentially with the Eagles. So the path forward for the Vikings to make the playoffs is pretty tough, but their defense has to be vastly improved compared to where they were last year.
Yeah. And then they got wide receivers suspended for substance abuse. They are it is a mess right now with the Minnesota Vikings, but some winnable games there. That is for sure. If they can get Kyler Murray up and running sooner rather than later here. Coming up, we got updates, Major League Baseball, a lot of afternoon games. We got a couple going on right now, turning out to be pretty good. We'll run down that scoreboard for you as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month, because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. He is Tom Vecchio. And on this unbelievable 26th of August. Think about that, guys. We are in the home stretch here. I saw something earlier, Tom, a great post where starting this Saturday now through, I believe, April 10th, we will have at least either college football or college basketball from this Saturday forward till about the second week in April. So if the dog days of summer have gotten to you, have no fear. College sports, college football, college basketball, even with NBA and NFL players playing in it, will be available to us now through at least the second week in April. So it is that time of year. But don't forget Major League Baseball up and running here as we're in the home stretch of the regular season, and a couple of games, one already finished here today. Tampa Bay shuts out Detroit 3-0. Peralta finally wins a game earlier. But Seattle was on the verge of actually sweeping Philadelphia. Luzardo and Wu, but you were watching that one, Tom. 6-0 Philly. We're heading to the bottom of the fourth inning. What was it, a couple of home runs early that put them up?
Yeah, immediately. We got a double by Schwarber in the first. Bryce Harper home run. Schwarber had a home run a little bit later. And Brian Wu, who has been downright basically unbeatable when he's at home, is now giving up a 6th spot to the Phillies. And they're through, going to the bottom of the fourth right now. So the Mariners are, fighting and scratching and clawing for every single win that they could possibly get. And they're in the AL wildcard race. They are. It's 2.5 games back, 3 games back, changing on a day in and day out basis. But a home series sweep against the Phillies would have done wonders for them. And their best pitcher apparently at home, Brian Wu, gets blown up in this afternoon game.
He has been, the home road splits for Wu this year have been ridiculous, but he got hit early. Another one of those arms that might be getting a little bit fatigued as the season rolls on. Listen, I didn't have Pirates sweep on the bingo card. They won again last night because Mason Miller gives up a solo home run in the 9th. O'Neill. That was just a bit head scratching. And by the way, I'm looking at Lawler hitting a home run off for Boyd for Arizona to go up 1-0 in the bottom of the 6th. But Vasquez was on the mound here, who, quietly, he's been pretty good after the All-Star break for the Padres. He's pretty good again today. What do they got? A 2-0 lead on them. Bubba Chandler going for Pittsburgh, top of the 5th there. Listen, I liked the Padres last night. I liked him again here. The only reason we were getting him at that price is because the market just doesn't think Vasquez is any good, but he's been pretty good.
He really has. And, over the last 30 days, at least, he's got a 2.60 ERA. He's not a big strikeout pitcher by any means. He has, really, really low strikeouts from good, but doesn't walk anyone. Only 0.98 walks per 9 over the last 30 days. And more importantly, when it comes to Pittsburgh, their lineup with the injuries that they've had, specifically Ryan O'Hearn, a big lefty hitter that's great against righties. They have struggled really since he's been down. And over the last month, Pittsburgh, they're 24th in the league with an 89 WRC plus versus righties. Like, they struggled big time. So this was a nice spot. I thought it was yesterday with King on the mound, and we were like, okay, Skeens, he just hasn't been himself. He's struggling. The Padres are red hot. And I thought that was a spot for the Padres to, get back on the winning ways, but apparently it wasn't. Skeens looked good, all things considered. His velocities were, just a touch higher than they were before, but this was an objectively good matchup, regardless of the results that we saw over the past few days. Vasquez at home with this matchup was good.
Very good. At a really good price here. So that's something to keep in mind. And so was Philadelphia, for that matter, who had lost back-to-back games in epic fashion. But they are playing from in front right now, 6-0. Bottom of the fourth inning in that one. The Angels are up 3-0 over the Guardians in that one. Bottom of the fourth, the Guardians with a ridiculous comeback last night. The Angels turning into a pumpkin once again last night, late. But I got to tell you that the Angels have been feisty, if nothing else, over the last couple of weeks here, Tom. And Guardians are in for a fight, I think, even in this one here today.
They are, and I got to say, Grayson Rodriguez has really been surprising me as of late. This is a pitcher that I was super low on coming into the season. I was fading him once he got back on the mound, and I'm going to remember one point, Grayson Rodriguez at one point was the top pitching prospect in all the minor leagues with the Orioles. He suffers the injuries. He's traded to LA, and he just seemingly didn't have it. He couldn't put it all together on the mound, and I was looking to fade him, but he's been pretty good over the last few starts for him. The last 27 innings he's pitched over the last 30 days. He only has a 3.33 ERA. He has 10.33 strikeouts per 9, which is really good. And he's kind of running into a Guardians lineup that has seemingly been hot, but they still have a lot of flaws when it's all said and done. And he's getting the best of them today.
He really is. And still plenty of time to go. Don't forget that bullpen at some point has got to get involved there for the Angels. But a couple other games of note. Cincinnati is, are they going to get swept? Logan Webb right now taking on Lodolo. Webb got lit up his last time out. And I think they went with an opener today, if I'm not mistaken, for the Giants. But now Lodolo, it is 4-2 in the bottom of the fifth there, Tom. What can I tell you, Reds? It's been a nice season. It's time to start making tea time here at this point.
It has, and I'm kicking myself because in Lodolo's last start at Arizona, I bet was it over 8.5 hit run earned runs allowed from him, or excuse me, hit walks earned runs allowed by a pitcher. So it's a newer market I've seen that DraftKings hasn't. It's me just saying, I don't think he's good. He's going to get blown up, even if he just gives up a ton of hits, but only gives up 1 or 2 runs. Like, you could still win the bet, even if he's not terrible. And it was 8.5 last week, and I bet it. It won, and I saw it 8.5 again today. And I was like, man, San Francisco is not good. Do I really think that Lodolo is this bad that he's going to get rocked around by the Giants, who are dreadful on offense? And the bet comes through. I didn't bet it, which is why I'm kicking myself, but he has been terrible. They needed another pitcher in that rotation to step up along with Chase Burns, and it's time to wrap things up. The only silver lining that the Reds have is that Sal Stewart should win NL Rookie of the Year. That's the highlight of their season.
Yeah, and that's about it. Because, I don't know, does Francona come back?
Probably not. He shouldn't.
They got some issues with the Reds. They should be much better than they are right now. Game Time Decisions continues, though, on the grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month, because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week one. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. Like, that didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we're keeping our eye on a bunch of afternoon baseball games here today. Getaway day for a bunch of teams. And right now, Padres still up 2-0, bottom of the fifth. I believe in that Seattle. I don't think Seattle has a hit yet right now. They're through 4. Phillies coming up here in the top of the fifth. They are up 6-0, and it started right off the bat with Harper and Schwarber leading the way for the Phillies, which is good because they were terrible last night, and they've been terrible since they made it into Seattle at T-Mobile Park. But 5 hits, 6 runs heading to the top of the fifth inning there. I mentioned earlier, Rodriguez has been very good for the Diamondbacks, sneakily good for the Diamondbacks here. The Cubs had Boyd out on the mound. Outside of this solo home run he just gave up, it's been a pretty good pitcher's duel right now, but it is Diamondbacks 1-0 over the Cubs in the top of the 7th, and Diamondbacks, nice win last night. Cubs, they let another one get through their hands, didn't they?
Oh, they did a walk-off homer last night by Ryan Waldschmidt for the Diamondbacks to complete the comeback. We're looking at a 1-0 game right now. Like you said, Erod for the Diamondbacks has been amazing for them, and he's been their best pitcher this year. And with the injuries that they've had, Merrill Kelly missed time, and Zach Gallen's still in the IL. They are all over the place. And if Diamondbacks want to have any chance heading towards the postseason, they need Brandon Pfaadt to continue to be the pitcher that he really was since he's been called back up. They need Erod to continue to be this guy, and they need someone else in their rotation to really step up. They can't be leaning on someone like Mitch Bratt to give them high leverage innings when it's all said and done. We're dealing with a live 2.5 total right now. This is not something I'm going to be looking to get involved in any capacity. 2.5 is -154 to the over. Can't be taking that. But the Diamondbacks looking to another win that they desperately need in the NL wildcard race.
Yeah, it's going to get real interesting real quickly here for some teams, and we still got plenty to go here coming up tonight. In fact, next hour, couple of games. The Marlins, they've run into it, huh? They got to take on Sonny Gray and the Red Sox after losing again yesterday. The Rockies and the Nats in a little bit of a battle. Where's Waldron been? My goodness, he's back on the mound for the Nats here tonight. Those are your 6 o'clock games. But listen, Sonny Gray, 16-3. He has been ridiculously lights out for the Red Sox. But Marlins have been feisty here. They are at home. Gusto hasn't been terrible. Got a lot of swing and miss stuff here. So, I don't know. I give him a puncher's chance here to get it done.
I certainly do. The Sonny Gray has been great. Last night's game was also crazy with extra inning was a grand slam by Jarren Duran.
Nuts.
So the Marlins need this game. They are sitting, what is this, 4 back now in the NL wild card. The Diamondbacks are in a spot to win. The Padres are in a spot to win. The Phillies are in a spot to win. So they are, chasing everyone down or trying to chase everyone down. Miami, as you said, over the past month against righties, they were 101 WRC plus, so they're literally right at league average. But man, Sonny Gray has been almost too good for me to look the other way and say I want to bet on the other team. Sonny Gray with a 2.81 ERA over the last 30 days is unbelievable. Could he do his thing and we take a first 5 under and maybe the Marlins come back and win just because, it's baseball, weird stuff happens. They tied the game last night late and they let it get away in extra innings and they just happen to win tonight? Sure, but give me a first 5 under in that game.
I don't mind that look at all here. I think that's a pretty good way. But yeah, Boston been really good last couple of weeks against right-handed pitching. Miami not so much. 17th has not been great, but got to play the games one way or the other. Waldron is fascinating to me here that he's even back in Major League Baseball. But here he is for Washington taking on Tanner Gordon. Washington has just been terrible offensively over the last couple of weeks. I don't know, even against Tanner Gordon, that I can trust a whole lot from Washington here at this point. You?
I really can't. I just want to note that I am seeing that Waldron's going to be an opener for the Nats, and Will Dion is going to be coming in behind him, and he's a lefty. So take that account into your handicap out there. That does play a part. But this offense for both of them really have been bad. The Nats against righties right now, they're terrible at 22nd in the league. The Rockies versus lefties are sitting at 25th in the league. The runs may be hard to come by, at face value, but the bullpens are so bad that we know anyone can score runs on them. And it's only 8.5 tonight instead of the 9.5, which we had last night.
Yeah, it's actually the fact that they're bringing in a lefty. I mean, they have been a little bit better against lefties, but Washington offensively has been anemic here over the last couple of weeks. All right, we got much more to get to here as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid. It's usually a 2-horse race, Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle is been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Got Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we got plenty more Major League Baseball coming your way. We'll get you caught up with all the latest. Of course, week 0 of the college football season is just around the corner. week 3 of the preseason for the NFL. Don't forget, this is the final week here of joint practices and trying to figure out rotations and who's going to be the backup quarterback, who's not, guys, who's going to be on the practice squad. And, oh, yeah, this week we continue to hear about, well, who's going back to college if they don't make an NFL team? And we have heard nothing but stories over the last 48 hours where the NCAA is just throwing their hands up and going, what do you want us to do? The SEC and the Big Ten, I give them credit. They were the only ones that stood up today and said, all right, we got to draw a line in the sand here, Tom. Like, they're not letting you come back to play on a team if you declared for the draft, you went to a preseason, you got paid money from the NFL. They're basically writing laws now that say you can't come back to the SEC. And if any team or university actually puts them and brings them back on a team, there's all sorts of penalties and everything. This is all fine and dandy. The problem is the Big 12 ain't doing that. The ACC's not doing that. And all we got to do, Tom, you know how it is, find the right judge in the right state. You go in there, and the minute you try to prevent me from going back to school for a 5th year, and that, you know what's going to happen. A friendly judge is going to give them a pass. So all those rules that the Big Ten and the SEC keep telling us on all these things they're going to do, they're ultimately not going to mean anything once you get into the court and a judge goes, yeah, no, they can go back to school, which was the NCAA's claim from the very beginning.
Right. And I want to know what date this takes effect on. Is it effective immediately? Does this affect Daquan Wright, who just left the Browns 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whenever it was, to go back to LSU or go to LSU? So that's what I want to know. Is it effective immediately? Is it retroactive? Are players grandfathered in? Can you be grandfathered in for something from 5 days ago? And then you could at least, you could be there for this season, but it's effective immediately. So that's what I want to know. You said it yesterday that, college football or college sports have lost the plot where they're allowing players that were drafted go back to college. I think it should be a clean rule where if you enter the draft and you play in the NFL, you sign an NFL contract with the NBA, you can't go back and play. It's that simple. Now, again, I think there may be an avenue for players that go undrafted to then return, but they're not allowed to sign with a team. Like, you can't go undrafted, sign with a team, and then go back. If you go undrafted and then you can go right back to college, that I could be okay with.
Yep. And the ironic thing is here, and it's so funny because all of these conferences, they're just pounding their chest and we're going to make rule. We're all the athletic directors, and we're all big. None of that matters in the least bit, because none of it is going to matter, certainly, if the Big 12 goes, and we already heard the Texas Tech head coach come out and go, listen, I have 105 guys I'm allowed to keep on a team. I have 104 right now. And he point blank said, Joey McGuire, if I get a guy that gets cut from the NFL this week that has a 5th year and wants to come back, he says, you think I'm not going to consider bringing him on the team? Of course I'm going to. These coaches are paid to win football games by all means necessary. If they're not breaking any laws and a judge is saying you can go back and play for a 5th year, then what exactly are you doing besides grabbing headlines and telling everyone how great you are? And that's the thing that cracks me up about this, Tom, is none of this is going to make a difference. But when you've got universities and conferences spending all this time with PR trying to tell me about how you're not going to allow it, you don't really have a say in it. And, oh, by the way, if I'm the ACC, go ahead, bring them on down. Go to Miami. Go to Florida State. Go. Maybe Dabo has a change of heart and finally decides that, you know what? Get a couple of NFL players back in here. If I was Shedeur Sanders and would I have gone to the Browns in the 5th round, or would I have gone back for a 5th year of eligibility, Tom?
He probably would have gone back one more year, play it, improve his draft stock overall, put up some good tape, whatever you want to call it. I could see a lot of players be willing to do that. And, when you're a top draft pick, a lot of that comes with guaranteed money. The draft slot and the money that goes with it is huge, and it's vastly different. And we see it immediately after the draft ends. We see all the NFL reporters tweeting out that, oh, this player signed to a futures contract with an NFL team. The UDFA signs with this team for, he's going to be at, OTAs with this team or rookie OTAs, wherever it is. Some of those players may not end up being there. They may go back to college just for one more year of eligibility. They'll enter the portal. I assume there would have to be some standard process where, I don't know if the school that they were at has first dibs on them, but something along those lines.
The NFL is, and this is how the wild, wild west. Now the NFL is writing its own rules because the NFL just came out and said that any player who goes from the NFL back to college is not going to be allowed to re-enter the draft. They're going to become a free agent next year instead. So, like you mentioned, Daquan Wright, right? He was undrafted. Went to the NFL, signed a contract with the Browns, didn't work out, left there to go back to college. That's fine, but he can't re-enter the draft next year, Tom, because he goes back as a fifth year. So the NFL is saying, listen, all of this, what's on first, who's on second, the bottom line is what's coming, and the NFL knows it, is that situation there. I declare for the draft, but all of a sudden now I'm not top first round, second round. Maybe I fall to the fourth and fifth round. Is it the worst thing in the world to go back to college for a fifth year after you declared for the draft to get another year worth of pay with the NIL money? I think that's going to be as common as it is, Tom, coming up over the next couple of years. That's going to be everybody. My question is, what the hell is the NFL supposed to fill rosters out with if everyone who is in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth round goes back to college for a fifth year?
It's a good question. And, I know it's going to be the eligibility thing. And I think there's going to be a time frame on it where, if you were out of college for X amount of years, even if you do have a fifth year, you still can't go back. So there has to be they have to get out in front of this thing, and they have to set up rules and things that they haven't even thought about yet. They have to run through all these permutations of like, okay, he technically has a fifth year, but he's been out for X amount of years. Therefore, it's ineligible or something along those lines. So then they have to sign up. They'll end up signing on practice squads or something along those lines. But it's a mess. That's what it comes down to. This is a mess.
Tell me how it works, if you're an 18-year-old football player, senior in high school, what chance do you have competing against 25-year-olds who just fell in the I mean, if the average age of a college football team now, and look at the average age of LSU, is 25, 26 years old, Tom. There's a big difference between an 18-year-old linebacker and a 25-year-old linebacker. Sorry, that's biology. There's a big difference there. What is this doing to the high school guy now who can't even sniff the field? Maybe he goes to what? Junior college? What chance does an 18-year-old out of high school have of making a difference or making a team filled with 25-year-olds?
This is a snowball effect. It's just a snowball effect down the line. And the thing that comes to mind for me is what we see with young pitchers, where they have to throw harder because then that's how they get on a travel team. That's how they get noticed. That's how they get scouted by a better college. And they're throwing harder and harder. They're throwing all year round. And then they get into college and they get into minors and they have to throw harder and harder to get elevated to the next level. And then they all have to have Tommy John syndrome. It's a systemic issue. It is a snowball effect from the top down. And the same thing is going to happen in the NFL. Roster sizes based on players leaving, not leaving. They're going back. They have eligibility. They don't. That is going to be a trickle-down effect where all of a sudden there's 24 and 25-year-olds playing against 18-year-olds. And now what does that mean for 17, 18-year-olds that are being scouted and looking to, get a scholarship? It's going to be a trickle down. That's going to be a mess.
We'll see in 4 years. That's basically what's going on here. It's absolute disaster in the making, but we've got more game time decisions for you coming up. All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. You know, Tom, I was so looking forward to this year's flag football Pro Bowl. And then we learned that is just was it still flag football, or was it an obstacle course? What was the latest rendition the NFL had come up with last year for a Pro Bowl? Whatever it was awful, and nobody remembers it. So the fact that they did away with it, Tom, I don't know what took them so long. I really don't. Right? Makes total sense.
Yeah, I don't either. To me, this seems like to me personally, it's a non-issue. Like, they got rid of it. I didn't watch the Pro Bowl to begin with, so you're taking away something that doesn't affect me materially. The report is that it'll still remain individual performance award, which is important for players' personal achievement. It does matter for contract. They get bonuses. And this is, my mind immediately goes to week 18, week 17, when a lot of people are betting into players based on player props because of performances. Like, a player needs to have 1,000 yards receiving and he gets a bonus of $500,000 or whatever it is. It's like, if a player makes the Pro Bowl, he also gets some type of contract incentive. So now I'm thinking, are there going to be players that are going to be pushing for simply yardage or touchdown milestones just because that can get them to a Pro Bowl nod, a nomination, whatever you want to call it, and therefore they get some contract? That means I want to be paying attention to that from a betting perspective for touchdowns or yardage. That's where my mind goes. Them getting rid of the actual event, I couldn't care less about.
Yeah, well, they've had some sort of all-star game in the NFL since 1951, right? So this will be the first year that they don't have something, right, where you actually see it. The whole thing about this cracks me up because it used to be, when it was in Hawaii, Tom, it was that was kind of a perk for that generation, the 60s, 70s. Like, they got a weekend in Hawaii for making the Pro Bowl, and those guys, they had no problem going out there. There weren't 8 people in the stands because no common fan can afford to hop on a plane for a weekend and go to Hawaii. So it really wasn't about the fans, but it was a hell of a way for guys, an incentive for them to go on a nice trip at the end of the year and hang out in Hawaii. Then they moved it to Orlando so the fans could get closer to them. And that's when everything went hard left there. Like, the guy's like, I wanted to go to Hawaii. Now I'm going to Orlando. So they effectively, over the last decade, destroyed everything that was supposed to be good about the All-Star game for the NFL. Now, name your team, fly them out, have a big steak dinner, and be done with it, Tom, right? I mean, the game was never bet on it. Could you even bet on the game? I don't think the last couple of years, I don't think you could.
I don't think so. I think once they change it to the flag football format, that is when it left. Like, I remember, again, it's an all-star game. I think in any sport, we know what our expectations are for any type of all-star game.
But isn't it supposed to be about the fans? Isn't that what all-star games are?
Yeah, it should be about the fans, the skill competitions that they have. Obviously, we're very contrived. They're there for sponsorships and whatnot. But they got to figure it out, because if they're going to just completely get rid of it, they have to do something to fill. They have to do something. They will do something to fill that time in the bye week before the Super Bowl.
The week of the Super Bowl. The
NFL will do something. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. Yep, because otherwise, the whole point of all of this was supposed to be about the fans. But the minute you send it to Hawaii, fans are like, how am I supposed to fly I'm going to go see Lawrence Taylor in Hawaii? Like, that's not how it works. So it really never was about the fans with the NFL, despite everything they kept trying to sell you over the years. But for the first time since 1951, there will not be an all-star game for the NFL. Plenty, though, of all-star games in Major League Baseball, including one of this year's. Who won this year's all-star game in Major League Baseball, Tom?
It was the AL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was that score? Did you remember that? It was
super low scoring.
Yeah. Yeah, you go. Right. See? No, but stop playing them. Nobody cares about them. Absolutely no. All I remember is I think I had to cover it. I was on air with Mish here on the SportsGrid Network, and it was like watching paint dry. They had home runs or runs in the first. Two Yankee players, I think, Bellinger and a couple of singles in the first inning off of Sanchez, and that was it. That was your entire game. Like, if the players don't buy into it, there is no reason to have it, as far as I'm concerned, here across the board.
This is why I'll say the NHL has the best All-Star weekend. They're either doing the crazy skill competitions of the hardest shot, the fastest skater, all that stuff, or they're doing the Four Nations, which everyone loves.
Thank you.
So figure it out. Other sports, figure it out.
One sport figured it out. They even figured it out. The rest of you guys have not figured it out. You've destroyed it. Game time decisions. We got another hour straight ahead here on the grid. All right, welcome back in. Here we go. Game time decisions on the SportsGrid Network as we look to wrap up this first hour together. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. Let's get you caught up with a couple of games in the afternoon. We're in the top of the ninth right now. Arizona trying to close out the Cubs and win a series here. They're up 2-0 now. Top of the ninth. Cubs are up. The Reds continue to be laughably bad, although they're in the top of the seventh. They do have a couple of runners on. They are down 6-3 right now to the Giants. The Guardians and the Angels, 3-1 Angels still. I think they're in the seventh inning there. Bullpens are in, so anything is possible. 2-0 still Padres over the Pirates, and 6-0 still Phillies over Seattle here. And it is second and third, Tom, 2 outs with the Reds. Can they get a hit? Likely not, I am thinking here. But a hit would at least make this interesting heading into the last couple of innings.
Yeah, it would certainly make it interesting, and we're all over the place with some of these scores, and really what I was anticipating today. We're top 9, as you said, for Cubs Diamondbacks. That game is looking all wrapped up for the Diamondbacks. That's good. This Guardians game is the most interesting to me. Guards have 1 run on 7 hits, while the Angels have 3 runs on 2 hits, because baseball is a weird sport and weird stuff happens. And not what I was necessarily expecting, but to Grayson Rodriguez's credit for the Angels, he has certainly put together a good performance. They're into the bullpen now, so if the Guards have any hope of coming back in this game, would be getting against those bullpen pitchers for the Angels. And I got to say, Joe, a lot of these games outside of Reds, Giants, and maybe Phillies, Mariners, we'll see where it is. A lot of these are just dead unders for day games, which is always a bit surprising when we're dealing with hot weather, especially this time of year. Yeah.
Yep, getaway games for some of these teams. Yeah, and I thought the same thing. I just watched Luzardo. I think has thrown 3 pitches in this inning. He's already got 2 outs. So you think that Seattle's got to fly to Toronto for a series. Both of them are off tomorrow, but I think they got a weekend series in Toronto. The Phillies stay out west. I think they got the Angels coming up on Friday. So guys going, can we hurry up and get this game over with quick so we can get on where both teams have to leave? They got planes waiting for them here. But it's going to be interesting to see because Seattle is still, believe it or not, still alive. I don't know how, but they're still very much alive in what's going on in the West here. And by the way, yeah, the Reds did not get a hit with second and third and 2 outs. So that game is now 6-3 heading to the bottom of the 7th inning here. Coming up next hour, Boston and Miami. Miami trying to avoid the sweep. Colorado and Washington. And Tom, as we always say, the tree falls in the forest and nobody's actually watching it. Does it really even count or does it really happen? Houston, though, and the Yankees is a game I am looking very forward to tonight because the Yankees, well, at some point they were going to have to get some innings out of somebody, right? And who'd they call up here tonight? Elmer, they bring in Rodriguez again now here tonight to pitch against the Astros? What are you thinking?
Yeah, Elmer, hopefully you get some glue out of him or something, hold the lineup and the rotation together or something along those lines. And last night's game was crazy. It was crazy. We got home runs. The Yanks are tying it. They're taking the lead. We got a home run to tie it from the Astros. They end up taking the lead back and winning the game. The Yankees bullpen, which has been absolutely fantastic, leaked a few runs last night. And, looking at the line for this tonight, this is one of the spots I would say if you are looking to back the Yankees, this is one of the best lines you're going to get on them. Minus 118, especially when they're at home. Now, granted, it's really just due to the pitching matchup. This is not going to be the case anytime Cole or Schlittler or Fried's on the mound. We see those numbers balloon up to minus 200, obviously given the matchup. But a minus 118 price on the Yankees seems pretty fair. Peter Lambert is on the mound for the Astros tonight, and over the last month, Joe, he has been terrible. 6.29 ERA over the last 30 days. This comes in 24.1 inning sample size. I will say he's still got the strikeouts going, and he's not giving up a whole lot of home runs. It's only a .37 home runs per 9. But he walks a few guys, and then he gives up hits. So it's single, double walk, and he's giving up lots and lots of runs. But the strikeouts could still be there for him tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think they certainly can be there tonight. I don't think we're going to get as many runs as we got last night, though, as both these teams have not been great over the last couple of weeks. Yankees not good against right-handed pitching. Neither has the Houston Astros. But got to see what we're going to get out of Elmer here tonight because he certainly has the stuff. But, again, the reason it's kind of tough to break into this rotation, but with all these injuries, boy, the Yankees are going to need to get some bats going here at some particular point. And Houston, listen, Houston's got an opportunity to kind of distance themselves here from everybody else in the American League West. Will they is the big question. We got much more to get to as Game Time decisions, another hour straight ahead on the grid. All right, welcome in Game Time Decisions, off and running another hour together. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio is we've got just that, some Game Time decisions to make here as we got plenty of Major League Baseball, some good games coming to a close here. The Arizona Diamondbacks did, in fact, close out the Cubs, so they won that series. 2-0, by the way, is the final in that one. The Giants now bottom of the seventh. They are up 6-3. I think a Rafael Devers home run in that one has put them up. Phillies very much in control heading to the bottom of the seventh, 6-0. Luzardo with a one-hitter rolling as they head into the bottom of that seventh. Still 3-1. Angels holding on, but this same scenario happened last night too, and the Angels ended up giving one back to the Guardians, but they are up there. And the Padres, top of the seventh, couple of runners on, nobody out. That's what happens when Griffin Canning comes in out of the bullpen here, Tommy. So is now the time maybe to look at the Pirates getting back in this thing?
It might be. Griffin Canning is not a pitcher I'm worried about overall. And, you know, the lines are locked right now that I'm seeing. Wait till they come back. But this could be a spot that maybe you want to grab the Pirates on at plus 1.5. Like if they do get a run across and it becomes 2-1, do you look to take the Pirates at plus 1.5 on the run line, thinking they keep it close? Because frankly, I could see the Padres not scoring more. And then if it is 2-1 and Mason Miller comes in, or just the back end of that bullpen, and they actually can handle business tonight, then they end up winning the game 2-1. So that's what I would be looking at. But we had some really good pitching performances this afternoon. It started off with the early game with the Rays and the Tigers. That game was super low scoring, and it was I think the Tigers only had 2 hits. The Rays only gave up 2. Great performance from Erod. We're getting good outside of the Giants and the Reds, who are just disaster teams. Everyone else has been solid today.
They have been, actually. It's been really good. And I'm looking here at the Pirates. If they're able to scratch another one out here, Tom, that would be pretty impressive if they can do that. But I mean, if you found something with Paul Skeens, between Paul Skeens and Ashcraft, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch that they're rolling if they can make a run at the final playoff spot. Now, they are 65 wins heading into this one. St. Louis has got 66, Miami 67, and Arizona and San Diego 70 and 71. I think it's safe to say we believe the Cubs and the Phillies are going to be locked into that 1 and 2 wild card spot. So between the Padres, Arizona, and Miami is the next closest with, 3.5, 4 games behind. Can one of these teams, I mean, Pittsburgh's 6.5. Can they get hot enough down these final 28, 29 games and make a run at this thing? Because you need 2 things to happen. You also need the Padres to fall apart here.
I would say probably not. And it really just comes down to the fact that, very simply for the Padres and the Diamondbacks, they're going to play the Rockies and the Giants. Yeah, they'll have games mixed in there against the Dodgers, and, there's going to be some attrition against each other. But getting those games against the Rockies and the Giants is just too good to pass up, knowing that one of those teams will eventually hold on. So I think we are looking at the final. I think the Padres win it, but I would be more excited if the Diamondbacks make it, because I almost have more interest in potentially betting on the Diamondbacks than I would betting on the Padres if the Padres were to make the postseason. I know that seems weird. I think the Padres would make it, but I actually want to be betting on the Diamondbacks because we saw the Diamondbacks, again, do this just a couple years ago. They came in as a wild card. They won all these games on the road. They ended up losing in the World Series, but something about the Diamondbacks late season has me interested in backing them when they'd probably be a good plus money price as a road dog to start the playoffs. So that's where I would want to see the Diamondbacks come through and get some plus money on them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Diamondbacks are going to be one of those teams that are going to be very dangerous come September, right? Once the postseason comes, they've got a couple of guys pitching. What you mentioned, Rodriguez today has been outstanding. Brandon Pfaadt has been, in a short series, they have some frontline starters there, Tom, that can get the job done. Now, Marte is just an unfortunate situation that he's such a, he's a few fries short of a Happy Meal because he was a very important part of that lineup and that offense, but they're doing it without him, and that's really all that matters, right? I mean, you got to be in it to win it, and it's going to come down to, despite the Phillies being 8-2 in their last 10, they're only 2 games ahead of Arizona, 1 game ahead, or they're actually almost even tied with the Padres here. So, are we sure that Philadelphia is locked into this spot here?
I think so. I want to say yes. And, the way Zach Wheeler has been pitching as of late, not good. But at the same time, now all of a sudden Aaron Nola is pitching really well, which is not something that I anticipated.
Yeah, good point.
So I think this is really just a bump in the road for Wheeler, and things will even out. And when you look at it from a pitching perspective, the Phillies, I can't say it about the Braves. I think the Braves have a great lineup. And I'm talking about going toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, this is. The Phillies, with Sanchez, Wheeler if he's at top form, and Luzardo, those 3 guys give you probably the best shot to take down the Dodgers. I'm not sure if the Brewers have it. Mizurowski's great in game 1. Kyle Harrison could be good there too, but a little bit further down the line, I'm worried about the depth of the pitching, starting pitching for the Brewers. I don't think Dustin May is the answer. The bullpen for the Brewers is great. The lineup's not great. The Phillies might be the best shot to take down the Dodgers.
I would love to see it. That is for sure here. I do think they have a pretty good opportunity, but they've already shown you they can get hot. 13 games above 500 right now. They're up 6-0 here against Seattle. And then they will take on the Angels on a nice weekend series as well. But listen, everyone seems to be chasing 2 teams, and one of them being the Dodgers. the other being the Brewers. And the Mets are just going to have to play the what could have been game, I think, Tom, because they don't seem to have a problem beating everyone without Soto on the mound, trading away half of their guys. And all of a sudden, is it coincidence that they became a very good baseball team after that? Very strange, is it not?
It is. And the Mets are playing good ball. You know, part of me wanted to say, like, oh, you know, when we were talking about who's going to make the NL wild card, you know, part of me wanted to say, like, oh, listen, the Marlins, they got some games against the Mets. They got some games against the Nats. That should be, a spot where they could pick up some wins. But the Mets, all of a sudden, they're playing good ball post-deadline, post-trades. And the thing I would say about the Mets is they're going to be booked as underdogs and basically every game. They've been an underdog at home this series against the Brewers. And they're not just a slight underdog. They're like plus 148 some of these games. And granted, the Brewers are great. We know that. But maybe that should have been closer to a pick-em. And the Mets wouldn't have been so enticing. But I think the Mets are going to continue to surprise people. They got to fight for some amount of pride and use this as a starting point for next season, really. This is where next season starts for them, is proving it right now when there's no pressure on them.
I'll tell you what, too. We got the Pirates with the bases loaded, 1 out right now in the top of the 7th. They're down 2-0, so we'll see if the Pirates can make a bit of a comeback here and get something going. They are deep into the bullpen right now. Suzuki, somebody is in for the Padres. Canning came out after he left first and second with 1 out. We got an infield single. And now all of a sudden we've got Matsui, rather, is in for the Padres, who I don't believe would bring Miller back in here in this game. I think he's already worked twice. Is he not, Tom?
That sounds right. Yes, definitely last night he gave the home run to O'Neal Cruz. So it would be a spot for Moreno to come in. The Padres, they need as many wins as they can possibly get, and it's low score. You got to bring your best relievers when a bases loaded scenario. Especially at top 7 at this point.
I agree. I think going to be interesting to say to sweet. Let's see what we got here coming up, though. In addition to the Yankees and Houston, top of next hour, you're going to have the Mets and the Brewers. Should be also one of those games where stock is going. Craig Mish loves this guy's stock here for the Mets tonight. Dusty May for Milwaukee. But it's the Dodgers and Atlanta game I want to talk about when we get back, because Atlanta at home has become very difficult to beat. We'll see if they're beatable tonight as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid. It's usually a 2-horse race, Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month, because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. Like, that didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle is back. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. As spam calls be damned here, we have got you covered for a whole lot of Major League Baseball action here. A couple of games, the earlier games, they did get out of it. Pittsburgh was not able to get a run across after having runners on the entire inning. They did pitch their way out of it, the Padres, so still a 2-0 game in that one there. That would be big for the Pirates if they can somehow figure a way to bounce back here and get another win against the Padres, a team that is in front of them in the standings trying to get that wild card spot. But in the meantime, coming up, Boston and Miami in about 20 minutes. Sonny Gray going for Boston. That's a rough go of it there for Miami, who lost back-to-back games here to Boston. We'll see if they can bounce back here. But what do you think about this Dodgers and Atlanta series? It's been interesting so far. Obviously, bullpens have been pretty good for both sides. Not a lot of offense. I mean, the Braves have not been great offensively last couple of weeks, but we know the Dodgers, outside of beating up on Colorado, they haven't exactly been crushing the ball either, but they do have a pretty good pitching advantage here tonight at this one at Truist here, Tom. What are you thinking?
You know, last night we talked about the Braves, and it was very simple. I said, you know, not looking at back pitcher Glasnow, it was last night, coming off his, rehab starting, and he was good, all things considered, last night. 7 strikeouts, got a little bit deeper in the game. And we talked about the Braves on the money line. We talked about taking the Braves on the run line for a home team at that kind of price. It had me very, very interested. Tonight is a very different story, to your point, because A.J. Smith-Shawver for the Braves has had a really, really late start to the season, dating back to the injury that he had last year, and he has not looked good in the innings that he has put up this season so far. A 6.23 ERA, and this is just over 8.2 innings. Obviously, small sample size because he has just come back and dealt with these injuries. Sasaki on the other side is a pitcher I just personally don't like. I don't think he's great. The walks drive me insane. Anytime he's on the mound, it drives up his pitch count. But all things considered, the Dodgers at minus 122, kind of good.
I kind of feel the same way, right? I think that they got a legit edge early on. Suzuki's been very good. And really, they kind of emptied the bullpen here. Now, like Tanner Scott and Iglesias pitched last night for the Dodgers and for Atlanta. But I think this is an opportunity, especially early, maybe in the first 5, where we can get the Dodgers to play from in front in this game would be good. And you don't often get them at this price point, right? I mean, that's not how it works with the Dodgers. But I do think a pretty good opportunity tonight to get the Dodgers at a pretty decent price when they've got edges all up and down the lineup here, and certainly on the mound to start the game. So that's certainly one I'm looking at here. Bieber hits the IL. Shocker. And just when you thought maybe Toronto could kick it into maybe sniffing and making a turnaround, they got hot last year, don't forget, rode it right through to the World Series and took the Dodgers to 7. But I mean, the guys they have rolling out to start games now, it's a who's who of has-nots and will never be here, Tom. It's tough, but they waited too long to try to get the offense together here, the Blue Jays did.
They really have, and they're going with an opener today. Spencer Miles is going to be starting the game against Randy Dobnak for the Royals. And again, the Royals are all of a sudden on fire. They're scoring runs left, right, and center. Dobnak actually hasn't been terrible overall this season. After the opener that the Blue Jays will have, they're going to bring in Simeon Woods Richardson, who is from the Twins, who started the season on the Twins, and he's terrible. He's a terrible pitcher. Like he really is. I know you're looking at some of his recent results aren't hard. He's not a good pitcher. And I almost want to say, do we just go with the Royals because they've been red hot, or do we just go back to the over? And it ended as a push last night. It was 8. It did end 5-3 as a push which was unfortunate. The Royals left, I think, 14 men on base, which drove me insane watching that game last night. But I think it might be another over spot tonight, and the Royals are going to have to do 75% of the work again.
They are going to have to do it. Team total, maybe not a bad look there. What numbers are we at there? 4.5, 5.5? What are we at there?
I assume it's 4.5 for the Royals. We can check quickly, but I'm just not sold on the Blue Jays pitching staff right now. And
I agree.
Royals total runs, Royals 3.5. Okay, Royals 3.5,
Wow.
Blue Jays 4.5. The Royals have been red hot, and Woods Richardson is not a pitcher we should be looking at.
What are you thinking here? I'm thinking over 3.5 is not a bad look in that game. I like that a lot, actually.
I do, and Dobnak has been solid. So if the Blue Jays only end up scoring 3 runs this game and it does go over, it would have to be at least 5 or 6 from the Royals if this game does go over. But I'll go with the team total.
I like it. Yeah, no, I like it. Team total up and over for me as well. Update here. The Guardians, first and second, 1 out. They've already pushed another run across, so it's 3-2, Tom, in that one as the bullpen of the Angels is in. I'll give them credit. They've been good over the last couple of weeks, but they let one get away yesterday, and here we go, a 3-1 lead. Now all of a sudden on the verge of not having a lead here in the top of the 8th. Is it too late to jump in on the Guardians here, you think?
Listen, it's plus 550. If you like them to, continue to roll and stay hot on offense when they were, pre-flop, I think they were minus 140-ish, if I remember correctly today.
Yep.
Check real quick. They were minus 135, minus 140. You'll love them at plus 550. They got they're going to the middle of the 8th, so that number might change. But they're down by 1. They have one more swing at things. I say you wait until the 8th ends going into top 9. You'll get them at a better number.
Yeah, not a bad look there in this one. Good to see it, that's for sure. 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning. We still have more Minnesota and Athletics games coming up, if you can believe that. This is an interesting one again tonight we're going to talk about. We are also going to talk a little bit here about the other game that is coming up. I think that Texas and the White Sox, this is going to go a long way in deciding both the Central and the West with what these two teams bring. I did not expect what we have seen so far in this series. Both these teams have been hard to figure out. Mackenzie Gore on the mound here tonight, Burke for the White Sox. This game's got pretty big implications here. We'll talk about it as Game Time Decisions continues on the Grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we're getting you ready here for some good games in Major League Baseball here tonight as we get ready to close out August, head into September. We're talking about the end of the regular season, postseason just around the corner. And let's face it, Tom, we got a lot of teams still within, 4 or 5 games of a wild card spot. So streaks are going to be important. Any team that can actually figure it out and put it together might give themselves a pretty good opportunity here. And this game coming up here tonight between the White Sox and the Rangers, not a series that you would think would carry some weight, but yeah, it carries a little bit of weight here. 2 guys on the mound also with Gore and Burke that have had their ups and downs, to say the least, here this year. But it's a realistic price here for the White Sox, minus 120 as a favorite. Burke has been very good, especially at home. Mackenzie Gore, I saw his outs at 17.5. I thought that was excessive here. But what are we thinking? Do we think Rangers here in this one, or do we like the White Sox?
Well, I like Mackenzie Gore under 17.5 outs. I already have it at minus 110. And you look to the last 30 days of the White Sox, they are essentially top 12 in the league in almost everything that we want to see. They're 13th in BABIP 292, but they are 3rd in WRC+, 2nd in ISO. They're 3rd in walk rate. They're 9th in fly ball rate, and they're 12th in hard contact rate. And those are some of the things that Mackenzie Gore can struggle with, which would be the walks. And one of the things I've been looking at more and more this year, which is a stat that you and I have talked about, Joe, is the left on base percentage. So Mackenzie Gore, over his last 10 outings, and we're looking at this stretch, his left on base percentage is 94.3%, which is bananas. And on a season average or season number for left on base percentage is 72.8. He's at 94 recently, and said so he is due to at least be to the middle, at least due for some amount of regression. And with the way the White Sox are hitting, I don't mind them on the money line, but I really do like Gore under 17.5 outs.
It's been crazy what the White Sox have done in August, right? Because you're right, 121 WRC plus in the month of August against left-handed pitching. But awesome. They also have a 25.5% strikeout rate against left-handers. So they are either hitting a home run or they are striking out against left-handed hitting. That's pretty much what's been going on here for the month of August. My question is, do we trust Mackenzie Gore not to walk a lot of guys? Because that's either what happens with them. It's a strikeout, it's a walk, or it's a long ball here. And I don't know that I trust Mackenzie Gore. I'm with you. I think the under 17.5 outs is good. They would love to stretch him out, but I don't know here. It still feels like, and I like Burke. I mean, Burke had a rough outing last time, but Burke has been pretty good for them, especially at home. And I'm not buying the offense that we've seen from the Rangers here, right, recently. I still think they're a terrible offensive team, even though Seager's gotten a little hot. But must win for both teams? I mean, do I hate to say it, but these teams can ill afford to keep playing 500 base. 500 is not going to win you the West or the Central in the American League, Tom, is it?
Yeah, I would hope that you have to be above 500 to win a division in 2026. And the Rangers seemingly can't get out of their own way. It's like they just are the epitome of a 500 team. They'll win 2 to go above, and then they'll just lose 2 to fall right back down. And with the Astros, they won last night. At the Rangers, you go, okay, they can play the White Sox. They can take this series. All of a sudden, now the Guardians are hot. Now the White Sox had a 5-game lead. It's down to 2.5 right now. So it is going to be a dogfight for both of these teams. White Sox at home, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, the 11-7 game, 18 runs aside, they're probably going to score 3 runs tonight because that's what these two teams do, Tom, on a daily basis here. What about Bradish and McGreevy? I kind of talk about this game when we come back, along with the Twins and the Athletics. Could the Athletics all of a sudden put a couple of wins together? I doubt that very much, but the Twins should be embarrassed. But Bradish and McGreevy is going to be interesting, Tom. We saw a lot of runs last night from one of these teams.
Oh, yeah.
McGreevy. Oh, my goodness. I'm looking for a place to fade him. I just don't know that tonight is it, though. But we'll talk about that game coming up. Also, we've got updates for you here. Pirates, Padres, as well as the Angels trying to hold on here in the bottom of the 8th inning, up 3-2 over the Guardians. And the Giants have said, we are tired of you, Reds. They are now up 9-3 in the top of the 9th. So that's all she wrote for the Reds. We'll have much more on this. We'll take a look at preseason football. Week 3, a lot still to be determined for some teams. We'll talk about it as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we've got a couple of updates for you here. Padres heading to the top of the 9th inning here, looking to hold down the Pirates. They are up 2-0, looking to close that one out. I didn't think the Padres would be getting swept here, Tom, by the Pirates. So looks like they're going to be able to hold on maybe and get that one done there. We also have a 3-2 game top of the 9th. Will the Guardians be able to make a comeback and get something going? We'll have to see. We do have a 6-0 Phillies lead on top of Seattle. They are in the top of the 9th inning. And the Reds are at least trying to make it interesting. It's 9-4 here, Tom, in the top of the 9th inning. But the fact that you've given up 9 runs to the Giants and have not won a game against them, Francona coming. He is like legend territory there. I don't necessarily blame him for what happened with the Reds this year, but you got to be kidding me here, Tom. At what point? Somebody's got to answer for this, no?
I think it should be him. Again, legendary manager, but I think the franchise needs a new direction. And it's as simple as that. Last year, they made the postseason. We all know that.
Yep.
As I said before, I said it on Pro Baseball Today, all throughout the year, they backed themselves into the postseason. And it's not their fault. Other teams lost. So they got vaulted up the standings and they made the postseason. And they didn't do anything with it. We know that. And I think this is time to them to reevaluate the franchise. You have some good cornerstones of the franchise with a Chase Burns and Sal Stewart and Ellie De La Cruz. You need a new direction and a new voice in that locker room, and it can't be Terry Francona anymore.
It's kind of crazy that that's what it's come down to, but that's, somebody's got to add because they have been terrible. I mean, there's too much talent, and they didn't do anything at the trade deadline too, Tom, which was very strange to me. I mean, what was their big move? Like, they didn't try to get better. They didn't try to nothing. So, yeah, all right. We'll see how that goes for him next year. But, I would think Francona probably buys himself one more year, but we'll see there. And by the way, first and second, nobody out, top of the ninth, 9-4. So we'll see if the Reds can get something going here. But also coming up, that first place best team in baseball, Milwaukee Brewers, 81-51, who can't seem to get the Mets out of their hair. Tonight, are we thinking? I mean, that's another series win for the Mets if they get this one out. All they do is win close games, too. But minus 150, minus 160 for Milwaukee. Is it worth laying it here tonight?
I personally wouldn't. I think everyone agrees that the Brewers are the better team by far. I would not be laying it at that type of price. This would be a spot to I would wait to take it in game. I would play the under 8.5, but I would not be looking to back the Brewers at that type of price. It's just too much juice, and the Mets have been pesky. And that's all it really comes down to. I'm not going to bet against the team when I'm having to lay juice, when they've kind of been throwing things for a loop in the NL, really.
Yeah, they really have here. And listen, I mean, the Mets haven't finished last in the National League East since, you want to take a guess what year, Tom? How long do you think it's been since the Mets were dead last?
2017? 2016? No.
That's kind of where I would have went.
Because 2015, they were in the World Series. So it's either directly after that in the dark years, like 2018, or is before that.
2003 is the last time the Mets finished last in the National League East.
Okay.
They've gone 13-8 this month, and they game of fourth place of the Washington Nationals now. They're 5-1 in one-run games this month, 10-20 in those games through July. So they're starting to win the games that they had been losing. I don't know that necessarily means that's regression for you, though, right, Tom? And that's positive regression for you right there. But they have played in a number of close games, and they're winning those. I don't know. The Brewers, though, I mean, the Brewers 4 for 26 with runners in scoring position against the Mets so far in this series. You want to talk about regression. Does that change here tonight against Stock?
It really should. Again, the Brewers are by far the better team. If you look to Stock over the last 30 days, he has a smaller sample size, only 16.2 innings, but he has a 5.4 ERA. He does have 10.26 strikeouts per 9, which is awesome. He also has 5.9 walks per 9. And that is a really dangerous combination to have. It's like, yeah, you can strike guys out, but if you were allowing too many guys on base against a team like the Brewers, and even though Stock is only at 0.54 home runs per 9, that doesn't matter for the Brewers. They're not a home run team. You get guys on base, they'll get them in. And the regression happening with the runners on base should come through.
Yeah, I think they're due for a bounce back here. I really do. I think they can get it. They'll get it done. They very rarely will you see with this team 3 or more. It's hard to find them with back-to-back losses, Tom, much less expecting them to lose 3 in a row to the lowly New York Mets. I don't exactly see that happening here tonight. We do have a late-night game coming up tonight for the Twins and the Athletics. And again, the Twins should have the upper hand here. But I believe it's Ginn going for the A's tonight. We're at that customary 10 and 10.5 total here. Didn't get it last night. What are we going to get here tonight, you think?
Frankly, I was on the Twins team total last night, and like I said, it didn't come through. The fact that the Athletics won a low-scoring game is stunning.
Yeah.
Congrats to them. But this is a spot where I think it's just, hey, I'm going to go right back to the well. If it barks like a dog or if it walks like a duck, it's a duck. It's just what it is with the Athletics pitching staff, right? Like, just because I happened to lose a bet last night, if we just go back to the same spot that's been so profitable all season long for opposing team totals and opposing or, just game totals overall, that's going to come out net profitable. So give me the Twins again on the money line and their team total. And we do have a change, Joe, with the guards taking the lead in the top of the ninth. All those hits finally come through. They're now up 4-3. They have 12 hits. We got to remember the Angels still only have 2 hits. So a dramatic turn of events, and the guards continue to stay hot.
Yeah, I love it. That plus 500 ticket looking real good right now there, Tom. We told you guys in the 7th inning, might not be a bad opportunity to get it in there. And boy, oh boy. So, and they may not be done yet here either. So we'll keep you posted on that. But 4-3 right now. See? Game time decisions. We helped you make a decision there. I still think we got to go over tonight. I call me crazy, Tom. I still think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it in Sacramento.
Yep.
98 degrees, 2 pitchers that throw a lot more fly balls than ground balls. I think it's a good opportunity. And, oh, by the way, the Reds have just put up 4 more runs. It's 9-8. Still nobody out, as Suarez has just homered for the Reds. 9-8, nobody out, top of the 9th, and just like that, we got ourselves a couple of very interesting games. Can the Reds do it? Here we are just ripping the Reds. Can they come back and get it done? Wow.
I mean, they were plus 8,500 when they were down 9-4 heading into the bottom of the 8th, and now they're plus 170. Maybe and it's not, should we be surprised with how bad the Giants have been? But it's now 9-8. This game flies over the total. With 17 runs that we're looking at right now. And it's, what is this, no outs in the top of the 9th for the Reds.
I like it. Let's go, Reds. Let's see if you can get it done here. This is 2 great comebacks. But the Angels, wow, that could be back-to-back games in which you gave it away here. Not good, but welcome to August here as we get ready to close out the month. We got 1 week of NFL preseason football left, and got a couple of games coming up here, I think, that might have in the preseason, the final preseason game, might have some value to keep an eye on. We'll do that when we come back. Listen, there's one team I think at this point you have to at least look at the game, if not the over and the total in it. We'll tell you what that game and what that team is as Game Time Decisions continues here on the grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month, because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle is better. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay. It's time. Let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, you gotta love baseball. Baseball's a very strange game. Welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri and Tom Vecchio, and I do believe we have a tie game now, Tom. 9-9, runner on third, one out for the Reds. Here we are firing Terry Francona. We're blowing up the whole team, ownership, and they have headed into the top of the ninth inning, and it was what, 9-4? Is that it? We had basically 9-4 we had? And how much were the Reds?
The Reds, I saw the Reds at plus 8,500 in the bottom of the eighth, heading to the heading to the top of the ninth. Plus 8,500. You're down by 5 runs, and you're down to your final 3 outs. That's just what a line should be, because it's a crazy comeback. But as I said before, as I've said thousands of times, baseball is a stupid sport. Sometimes it really is. The more you think about it, the stupider it seems about what can actually happen in a baseball game. And we get a home run, we get a walk, a single, a walk, and Eugenio Suarez hits a grand slam. So if you were holding a Suarez home run ticket, you get it in the top of the ninth, you get it in the biggest moment. If you had the Reds thinking, I'm going to take the Reds money line because no one's going to get swept by the Giants, you thought that was dead, you ripped it up. Well, you got a potential winner as they're minus 210 on the live money line right now, 9-9, top of the ninth, 1 out, runner on third. And the Guards also had another comeback. They're up 4-3, bottom 9. They're trying to have another come from behind win. Craziness across the MLB, and it's not even 7 o'clock.
It really isn't. It's absolutely crazy here. We'll let you know what happens with Cincinnati and San Francisco. Although the Angels have a runner on here, the tying run on first base, nobody out. So we'll keep you posted. Never say never at this particular point after what we've just seen here. All right, coming up here, we have some NFL final preseason week 3 games. And listen, the reports, and by the way, 10-9, Cincinnati just scored. So single with 1 out. And now they have scored 7 runs in the top of the 9th inning to take the lead over the Giants. Wow, plus 8,300 seems like a bargain now. We are hearing reports left and right that Browns fans are revolting everywhere with the idea of Deshaun Watson being the starting quarterback. Now, they go into their final week, their preseason game here tomorrow night, I believe, against the Patriots. Todd Monken hasn't really given us a whole lot of reasons as to why Deshaun Watson over Shedeur Sanders, but we know Dylan Gabriel is starting this game tomorrow. And call me crazy here. It just feels like I believe we've got a quarterback competition. Tommy DeVito is trying to win the backup role for New England in this spot. And this just calls me crazy, but I think the Browns are going to be a little feisty here with the quarterback play in this one. No, 35 and a half. It feels like it. Now, if the Browns fans are up in arms, think about what the Browns players got to be feeling like too here. Nothing guaranteed. If Shedeur Sanders was not good enough to beat out Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel's got to want to ball out in this game here. Something tells me points are coming in this game. Tommy DeVito's looking to buy a roster spot here. He's looking to earn it. It looks like we could get some. I think points are coming in this game with the Browns and the Patriots.
I see that as a very, very reasonable look. And, I over the past few years, I'll be honest, I routinely and I don't want to say like historically, never bet the last weekend of the NFL preseason, just because I know what's what. We know the stars aren't playing. I take my bets in the preseason, I get my action, and then I say, okay, I'm hands off this time. It's more about just figuring out what teams are actually kind of trying to do. But the more and more I think about it, and after hearing you say that, I kind of do like the over, and I don't mind a little sprinkle on the Browns money line, because if there's a team that wants to show something, it would be the Browns over the Pats. Now, looking at the Pats depth chart, Tommy DeVito and Brandon Morton, which I think it should be DeVito as the backup, but the points I can see coming. So 34.5, I'm seeing -118 to the over, and maybe a little sprinkle on the Browns money line at +120. I mean, that would create the real controversy. Dylan Gabriel goes out there, he balls out, they win at home, and now we got to think about this heading into week 1 with Deshaun Watson just taking more and more practice reps that everyone's not going to like.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, the Browns, they've got some depth issues on that defensive side. Second half in both preseason game 1 and 2, they have given up 41 points, Tom, in 2 preseason games. All of those guys are going to be playing this entire game because you're not going to be sniffing out starters. There will be no starters on the Browns defense here, which means those guys that have given up 41 points in the second half in 2 preseason games are going to have to defend, like you said, 2 quarterbacks trying to make a roster here and trying to play to make the backup spot. I think just give me the points in week 3 of the preseason. I think the Browns are going to get a little feisty here. I also don't know what to believe. The Commanders are a mess, Tom. We keep hearing that offense. I mean, the reports coming out of this week with the Ravens in the joint practice are horrific here. Like the beat writers, much like the Dolphins we talked about yesterday, the beat writers are like, this is the worst offense. There's just nothing. This is not a working offense, what they're seeing right now. Don't forget, new coordinator, new everything here. Dan Quinn, 8-21 straight up in preseason games. We are looking at a Ravens team with a new obviously a new coach, but same mold. They've only given up 10 total points in the preseason here, Tom. Ravens by a million here. What do you think?
Yeah, the reports for the Commanders have been dreadful, especially today. This tweet that's kind of going viral that the Commanders' offensive line has zero cohesion and is just an absolute mess. And frankly, when we're looking at what we should be expecting from the Commanders' offense this year, everyone wants to say, oh, Jaden Daniels, he's back, he's healthy. He's healthy now. But this offensive line, if they can't keep him upright, we're going to be dealing with the same stuff that it was last year. He's going to be running for his life, and he's going to be taking hits that he shouldn't be taking because the offensive line is breaking down. Frankly, they had to go out and sign Steph Diggs to bring some wide receiver depth. And if you're signing a 34-year-old, 35-year-old receiver because you need depth, you're kind of missing something. So when you couple that with a bad offensive line, the bottom for Washington is really low this year. They could be good on offense if they can score points, but there's also a really bad outcome for them of having 6 wins.
Yeah. And again, Baltimore defensively has only given up 10 points in 2 preseason games. What do you think they're going to do here? My goodness. Game time decisions. We'll wrap it up for you when we come back here on the Grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville, with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game time decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. That was close there. Guardians do, in fact, close it out and win 4-3 against the Angels, an Angels team that was leading this entire game right up until, once again, the 9th inning. Hard to believe there, but 2 back-to-back meltdowns by the Angels, but the Guardians get it done. 4-3, big win for them, which again, Tom, makes this White Sox-Rangers game coming up a little bit later even more important. Phillies did close out the Mariners. Mariners just 2 hits in this game. Luzardo was fantastic. 6-0, the under. I had under 7, and I thought that was toasted after the first 2 innings where Phillies had 6 runs, but Luzardo was really, really good the rest of the way there. So 6-0 win by the Phillies. They don't get swept. Pirates are about to lose 3-0 right now heading into the top of the 9th. And the Reds still up, I believe. Are they not in the field? Or are they going back to the mound now? It's 10-9. They've scored 7 in the top of the 9th already.
They are going to mid-9. The Giants mercifully got out of the top of the 9th after giving up 7 runs in the top of the 9th. And the Giants were 3 outs away from their first 3-game sweep of the season. And they go on to give up 7 runs in the 9th. So, they're only down by 1, right? It's bottom 9. They got to have a chance to tie it or walk it off. And, man, this is just the epitome of the Giants season. When you think things are going well, it is an absolute disaster waiting on the other side of it.
It would not shock me if this thing goes to extra innings, and that's exactly what both these teams deserve. So let's go Giants. Tie this game up and go 18 innings. That's what they deserve. One other game, Tom, we didn't get a chance to get to here, though, but your Orioles and Kyle Bradish going up against McGreevy and the Cardinals. I did not expect the kind of output we got last night. But what are we thinking here? Cardinals at home. McGreevy, I keep looking for spots to fade him. Is this one of those spots to do so?
I really don't know. The Cards are desperate for a win right now. McGreevy has not been good as of late, a 5.87 ERA. Yeah. Over his last 23 innings pitched, he's given up too many home runs. The walks are a little bit of an issue for him. But this is not to say that Kyle Bradish has been dramatically better. 25.1 innings over the last month. He's got a 4.62 ERA. So when we're looking at a line that's essentially a coin flip when it's all said and done, we're looking at minus 108 for the Orioles and plus 100 for the Cards. It's really, really tough to pick a side. I will say you're getting a good price on either of them. Can the Cards break this, what is it, a 4-game losing streak that they're on and bounce back at home and not get embarrassed by the Orioles, who are a middling team? Or is this a chance for the Orioles to continue pouring on their offense and push themselves further in the AL wild card? I have no bets of any kind in this game. It's just a wait and see for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles are 2.5 games out of that final wild card spot. One of 5 teams, by the way, within 3 games of that final wild card spot. So these teams are still playing for something here, Tom. And I mean, call me crazy. McGreevy is not a guy. He's had some success this year, but not a guy with a power hitting team. Alonso's crushing the ball. Holiday finally has himself a day yesterday. And Kyle Bradish can listen. He can miss. I don't think he's won a game in August yet. He's had 4 starts. He's 0-3, 8 runs in 22 innings. But he is a guy that can get some swing and miss going on here. And right now, you're right. The Cardinals, can we trust them to get enough offense together, even against Kyle Bradish here?
I really don't. I can't. I've been low on the Cardinals all season. So every time they've proved me wrong, I want to start betting on them. It's like, oh, maybe they are good. Or maybe and then they don't. And then I don't bet on them and they're terrible. I'm like, man, I knew it all along that they were terrible. I should have been fading them the whole time. And they don't come through. To me, this is a spot where if you want to back the Orioles, I think it's a great price at -108, and you gotta hope that the offense shows up last night because, like you said, Pete Alonso has been on fire, and McGreevy is just not a pitcher that's worth any kind of serious bet, even at +100.
Yeah, and the Cardinals 5 games behind the Padres for that final wild card spot heading into today, but the Padres getting ready to close out here, top of the 9th, 1 out. They are up 3-0 over those Pirates. By the way, tying run on first for the Giants in the bottom of the 9th. We'll see if they can maybe get this going. Marlins up 1-0 early on Boston. No score with Washington and Colorado. The fun part is in-game live game day is coming up straight ahead here. Kevin Walsh, Gabe Morency. They will have you covered here with all of these games. Should be a fun night on the diamond, but let's face it, get ready because college football will be here this Saturday for week 0. So welcome football back. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of Game Time Decisions. In-game live game day straight ahead here on the grid. It's usually a 2-horse race. Houston or Jacksonville with Indy on the outside looking in. We're going to find out, I think, rather quickly in the first month because the scheduling is absolutely brutal this year. And do yourself a favor. Now is the time to start prepping. You talk about contests, Craig, right? Survivor is all about planning.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I do not think that history suggests the best thing for a quarterback is to start week 1. Obviously, you need reps, but we have seen guys sit and benefit from it. I think Anthony Richardson might have a completely different, couldn't have been any worse if the Colts didn't play him his rookie season as the rawest quarterback ever drafted. That didn't help.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His height, how hard he could throw it, didn't matter. How do you communicate it? How do you look at these guys in the face? An old 10-year vet, right guard over there, and a 9-year tackle that's been. How you gonna look that old man in the face and convince him, hey guys, we're gonna get ready to go down the field. We're gonna score here. Because that's what the great ones do. They walk in the huddle and everybody goes, okay, it's time, let's go.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Ohtani, he's going to be the MVP. The PCA argument, I completely understand. If he ends up winning it, I'm not going to be surprised. And I do think it'll be somewhat of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine looking back, Tom, you and I, 10 years and talking about a player in baseball doing what Ohtani's doing and not winning the MVP. I mean, it seems crazy to me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live on SportsGrid on a Wednesday night. College football right around the corner. Baseball board off and running. We've had a few games finish up already. We've got a few more to go. We've got some